If you're in year 10 right now and you want to maximize your ATAR without burning out, then I'm going to show you how to do exactly that by choosing the right subjects for you the smart way. Look, if you're trying to choose subjects at the moment, you're probably hearing millions of different opinions. You've got people telling you, do what you love, pick the easy subjects, pick the scaling subjects. Lots of different opinions, right? Well, I've helped tons of students navigate this exact decision to see how they can maximize their ATAR without feeling burnt out by the end of it. And so today I want to share a clear strategy that you can use in order to make sure you make the right decision for you. Hi guys, my name is Farhan. I scored a 99.75 in the year of 2020 and currently a medical student. And today I want to share the 3 most common mistakes that students make when choosing their subjects and a 4-step strategy or framework that you can use to be pretty confident that you're making the right decision when it comes to choosing your subjects. So let's get into it. Let's start with the 3 most common mistakes. Mistake number 1 is choosing based on scaling only. Yes, I get it. There are going to be some subjects that scale higher than others, like VC, French, or Spec. A 30 in Spec Maths might scale up to like a 43, which is going to be great. But if you only end up scoring a 20 raw, then no amount of scaling is going to be able to save that. Instead, what you should be doing is focusing on a mix of subjects that allow you to do well and subjects that you end up enjoying as well. Now, mistake number 2 is picking subjects based on what your friends are picking. Now, I totally get this. I know it can be very tempting to want to be in the same class as your friends, but at the end of the day, your ATAR is yours. And it's yours only. So pick your subjects based on your strengths and your future plans, not those of your friends. You know, I actually had a friend in year 12 who, when he was picking his subjects all the way back in year 10, he ended up picking up chemistry. And at the end of year 12, when he was telling me, you know, he was reflecting back on the year, reflecting back on VC, he told me that he regretted. 1, he didn't like the subject, and 2, he only picked it because basically a lot of his friends were doing it as well. And now fast forward a couple of years, he's now completed his computer science degree, which you didn't need chemistry for, and he wishes that he had picked something else, maybe something that would have been more aligned with his interests instead. And now the last mistake is going to be ignoring uni prerequisites. The worst position that you can be in is picking all your subjects, wanting to get into this dream course of yours, only to realize you haven't picked the prerequisite subjects for that particular course. So make sure you search up what your specific course requires so that you can have that option available of going into that dream course. And look, in year 10, it's not expected for you to know exactly what you want to be doing by the end of high school. So even if you're unsure, keep your options open by picking subjects that give you a bit of flexibility down the line. So now that you know what not to do when it comes to subject selection, how can you make sure that you're making the best decision for you? So I have this 4-step strategy that I recommend to basically all of my students, and here it is. So number 1 is going to be on that same topic of prerequisites. At the end of the day, for the vast majority of people doing VCE, the end goal is to try and get into a university course. And unless you know what subjects your dream course and your backup courses require, then you'll basically be going into it blind. So the best thing that you can do is search up the requirements for your dream course and its backups as well. So let's take the course of medicine, for example, because I know a lot of people want to get into medicine. So the requirements for undergrad medicine in Victoria are literally just English and chemistry. And I still talk to parents basically every couple of weeks telling me and assuming that they still need bio in order to get into medicine, when that's simply not the case. And another thing is that you don't actually need maths for medicine as well. It's just English and chem. So that raises the question, why do a lot of people that are gunning to try and get into medicine end up picking maths anyways? Well, that's because medicine is competitive and there are going to be backup pathways to get into medicine, and the most common backup pathway is going to be through biomedicine, and for that subject you end up needing a maths of some sort. So a lot of people end up taking maths methods because they want to keep that option of biomedicine open as a secondary pathway into med if straight undergrad doesn't work out. So, regardless of what your dream course is, think about the prerequisites for that dream course. You can search this up just by searching up XYZ University dream course requirements, and it'll be on the website right there for you to see. And also start to consider about the backup courses as well, so you can have a look at their prerequisites. Now, once you've had a think about your prerequisites, start to think about your strengths. Look, I want you to view VC like a game, and the objective of this game is to try and maximize your ATAR by the end of it. And the way you do that is by getting really good at answering the questions in front of you, because the better you are at answering questions, the more marks you get. The more marks you get, the better your study score. The better your study score, the better your ATAR. And so why not pick a game that you're already going to be good at? Why not pick subjects that you are already strong at? At the end of the day, there's no trophy for anyone that picks a really hard subject but doesn't end up doing well in that subject. It all comes down to how well you can perform in that particular subject. So play to your strengths. Look back through the years, year 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Look back at which subjects you naturally gravitate towards anyways, which subjects you don't have to work that hard in order to get the best grades in. And you might want to pick your subjects based on those strengths, because it means essentially you don't have to put in as much effort to get a higher ATAR. Next is going to be your interests. And I think it's similar to strengths, because I think for the vast majority of people, what you're interested in is what you're going to be strong at. Because if you think about just how you grew up, if you were, an English person growing up, you're probably going to be decent at English when it comes to year 10. Or if you were a maths person growing up, you're probably going to want to pick math subjects because you've already been doing well at that. So pick based on your interests as well. But what about subjects that you might not be so strong at, but interest you nonetheless? I think those subjects are worth considering, because for me, in my example, midway through year 10, I needed to pick my own subjects. I ended up picking HHD. Now, it was a subject that by no means was I strong at. It was a subject where you had to memorize a lot of things and you had to write. And write a lot. And for me, writing was a big weakness of mine. I was always more science and maths inclined. But I ended up picking it anyways because the content of what was covered in HHD really interested me. It was to do with public health, all of these things that I still have a passion for to this day. And so what I found was, regardless of the fact that I wasn't that strong at this subject, my interest carried me through. It wasn't like me trying to cram in this piece of information, that piece of information, and try and memorize everything. Because to be honest, I enjoyed what I was learning. And that meant that it didn't feel as hard to actually do well in that subject. And I'm glad I picked HHD because I ended up scoring well on it anyways. And lastly is going to be scaling. And I've left this until last for a very big reason, because I think the first three things should be considered in that order: prereqs, strengths, and then interests. And then lastly, we're going to have scaling. So if you want to have a look at how the subjects scale, then simply search up on Google VCE scaling report, look for the most recent reports and statistics page, and then you'll find the scaling report on that page. But just to explain what scaling is, we can see here, if a student scores a raw 35 in general mathematics, then it's going to scale down to a 33. Whereas if they score a raw 35 in special maths, it scales up all the way to a raw 48. Now, scaling is basically the VCE system of trying to standardize the effort put into every single subject. And so, have a look at this. We've got 44 scaled in general mathematics and a 43 scaled in special mathematics here and here. And so, basically, what the VCAR is trying to tell you is that theoretically, it might take just as much effort to get a 45 raw in Gen Maths as it does a 30 raw in Specialist. And so what they do is they try and standardize that by scaling Gen Maths down a bit and scaling Spec up quite a bit. So I hope that explains scaling for you guys. Now, as a bonus tip, consider your school and your ability to do accelerated 3-4s. Some schools let you do 1 3-4 early, maybe even 2 3-4s early, maybe even 3-4s in year 10. Some schools don't let you do 3-4s in year 11. But if this is a consideration for you to make, then I do think that this changes some of the subjects that you end up picking. For example, my school let me do 2, 3, 4s in year 11, which meant that I needed to pick 2, 3, 4 subjects that I could actually do in year 11. And for my school, they didn't let you do every single subject in year 11. So for example, I was tossing up between a couple of subjects for that last 6th spot. And a decision that I had to make was between picking HHD and picking physics. And I enjoyed both of those subjects and I was more than happy to pick both of them. But for the rest of the subjects that I picked, which I'll just show you now, I could only have done those in year 12, at least according to my school. So English, Spec Maths, Chem, Math Methods, and if I picked a hypothetical physics as well, I could only have done those in year 12, which meant that the only year 11 subject that I could have done would have been bio. And my school let me do 2, or gave me the option to do 2 if I wanted to. And so what I did instead is I decided to shorten my load in year 12 and only do 4 subjects in year 12 and pick up another one in year 11 instead. And so I ended up picking health and human development for that last spot because I was actually able to do that in year 11. So while we can see my subjects, let me talk you through my own thinking process when picking my subjects and any regrets that I had along the way. So first of all, you can see English up the top there. This is because everyone needed to take an English. And in hindsight, I kind of wish that I'd paid a bit more attention to this decision, whether I pick English, Eng-Lang, or Lit. I think I would have enjoyed something like English language more, to be honest, and I wish I did. So when it comes to picking your English subject, I would suggest speaking to people that you know that have picked English before, that have picked literature before, that have picked English language before, so that you can actually make a proper decision instead of just going with what the majority of people pick, which was, in this case, English. I think, to be honest, I kind of shaped it. A lot of people around me were taking English, a lot of my friends, and in hindsight, I wish I picked English language instead. For the rest of my subjects, I picked 2 maths methods and specialist maths, because I was a maths person, I enjoyed them, loved it, and I loved my sciences as well, which is why I took chemistry and bio. Health and human development was a bit of a rogue one, but I ended up looking at the study design. I liked what it had to say. It wasn't my strength, but I enjoyed it anyways, and so that ended up meaning that I was able to do well in that subject too. So as you can see, this follows exactly alongside my 4-step plan, where you've got prerequisites. I needed English and chemistry. Where you've got strengths, where I've got my maths and my sciences there. Where you've got my interests, and also health and human development, which I wasn't that strong at, but I was interested in. And I've also got my scaling subjects as well, where you've got Spec Maths, Chem, methods that all scaled up pretty favorably. So, as a final checklist, ask yourself, do I enjoy these subjects? Does this subject give me the uni options that I need? And am I choosing this subject for me and not for my friends, familial pressure, or scaling? Once you've been able to tick all 3 of these boxes, then I think you can be totally confident that you are picking the right subject for you. So guys, if you found this helpful, feel free to drop a like on this video and subscribe so that you can be tuned in for more. Or if you need some help picking your subjects, then drop your subject selection down in the comments below so that I can help you find the right mix for you.